Okay, so this video is going to be like a combination video about wrestling and also a speakdom. Because I had a discussion the other night, actually with Meteos, who's been on the channel before. He was on a video I did about Ric Flair, and I want to discuss I want to elaborate a little bit on some of the things I've said about Tony Khan's mentality and sort of the mind of a billionaire. And I want you to really follow me on this video and watch it all the way through because I want to make it clear to everyone that my issues with AEW are with the product. I don't have a personal issue with Tony Khan himself. I don't know the guy, but based on what everybody says, he's one of the more generous and nicer billionaires. You know, some billionaires they just don't do anything that's kind. And he seems like a kind person. But I want to delve into sort of his mind and why his mind is the way that it is. And I want you to follow me on this one. So, Tony Khan was born into money, right? His father, Shad Khan, was a billionaire. And this guy came from Pakistan, I believe, opened up this company that created these car bumpers and made himself a very, very wealthy man. Now, you have to understand something about billionaire versus millionaire. Most people, hear me out on this one because I say this a lot on my old speakdoms. Most people can actually become millionaires with the right amount of investing in time. If you start investing young and you continue to invest, by the time you're 45, 50, 60, you could have $1 million. $1 million, maybe more, maybe less, depends on how much you invest and how well you invest and all that stuff. So I think becoming a millionaire is possible with the average person. Becoming a billionaire is much, much more difficult. You can't be an average investor and become a billionaire unless you've already got hundreds of millions. Then you're just sort of building on that interest with the right investment. So here's what I want you to think about. Some of you guys have kids, some of you guys don't, but I'm pretty sure most of you guys have jobs. So can you imagine living to where let's just say your life bar or your hit points, your health points can never go to zero? Tony Khan is so wealthy that his brain can never truly connect with the rest of us. Obviously, you can talk to him about wrestling and football and things that he's into. He becomes the average guy. But Tony Khan, even though, and I want to make this clear, super rich people have their own problems. You can't go through life without having problems, no matter how wealthy you are. But if you are wealthy, you have different problems and less problems than the average person. If your mom is sick, you don't have to worry about finding the right doctor, saving up money, working overtime to help her. You've got billions. You can fly anywhere in the world in a private plane to go see a specialist to get her okay. If you have kids, you're not going to need to worry about paying for a nanny or a babysitter if you're a billionaire because you're going to have probably multiple of those. People like Tony Khan who were born into money. And again, this is not a Tony Khan hate video. This is an understanding of the mentality of guys like this. People who are born into money don't understand the struggle of having to go create a resume, go to different job interviews while you're sweating, worrying about paying the rent this month or making ends meet. When inflation hits and the cost of food goes up, it doesn't really affect the super billionaire class because they can afford anything. And the Khan family is not just 1 billion, it's multiple billion. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. $1 billion is 1,000 million. Do you understand how much money that is? He could run 5 AEWs at a loss and he'd still be okay because of all the income they make from their other businesses. So when your life when you're living your life and you've never really been to public school, you never really have had your back against the wall, you've never been stressed out trying to make ends meet or scared of, maybe losing your home or losing your car. Can you imagine how nice it is that if you get into a car accident, yeah, you might be banged up, but you've got enough money to pay for the best chiropractor. You could even buy another car, a luxury car, the same day. You don't complain about your insurance going up. You've got the best of everything. And remember what I said earlier about the private plane. You understand that people that have private planes that are that wealthy, they don't know the struggle of waiting in TSA to put your bags through to go fly. They don't know what it's like to have a plane waiting for you and having to wait and then having to maneuver through the airport or booking a regular flight. If you're super rich like that, you can take a private plane from the United States to Japan, be there in 12 hours, and then come back the same week on your own plane. And the thing is, because it's a private plane, there's no people on there to get you sick, no sick babies, no animals, unless you bring them on. You can sleep the entire way. Like, it's a very luxurious life. It's a life of luxury. And I'm not saying this from the point of envy, because anybody who knows me knows that I am not an envious person. It's more so to explain that people, if one of us, if one of us ran AEW, let's just say one of us owned AEW. When I say us, I mean me or you guys, and the company declines, it's a different feeling. Because obviously in Tony Khan's case, he doesn't like the fact that the numbers are down and that the arenas are more empty. He obviously doesn't like that. But is it going to lead to him possibly foreclosing on a house? Is it going to lead to him losing his billions? No. Whereas if you have somebody who has grown up poor and they make themselves a billionaire, or even someone who has money but isn't quite in the billionaire status, AEW, if that's your bread and butter, if AEW is what puts food on the table for you and your family, is losing viewers, you are a lot more likely to work a lot harder and to really analyze the data to figure out just what the hell is going on. You are way more likely to cut costs and do the right thing for your business, which may involve cutting people, which is unfortunate. And that's one of the good things about Tony Khan, is he's giving a lot of wrestlers, paychecks. This week, people have been complaining about Rey Fenix and how he was treated and how he's not being cut. And it's unfortunate because I love Rey Fenix and I want to see him on TV again, whether it be AEW, Mexico, or WWE. But he's still getting paid. How many of you can say that you sit at home and you're collecting six-figure checks every week to sit at home? Yeah, it sucks because we as fans want to see the guy, but he's doing a lot better than most of us are, and that's because of the fact that Tony Khan has all this money to blow, because AEW is not the company that is his livelihood. It's all the other businesses the Khans own that are much more important. AEW is a hobby for Tony Khan. Again, this is not an insult. This is sort of trying to get you to understand the mentality there. He can't really relate with average working class people, even though he is a hard worker from everything that we've seen. It's also a lot easier to be a hard worker when you've got the ability to fly anywhere you want to on a private plane, get a limo. It's a lot easier. You get more rest. If one of us had a private plane, like I'm just using that as an example, we could sleep on that plane instead of maybe thinking we're wasting our time, or instead of being awake the whole time, eliminating precious hours that we could be sleeping or working. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of options open for you. So for Tony Khan he can empathize with us. He can say, if something happens to one of us, let's say like, hey, Tony, I'm having trouble paying my rent this month. He can say, oh, that's too bad. I feel for you. But he's never experienced that before. He's never experienced being homeless or being on the brink of being homeless. He's never experienced worrying about having to pay a bill that you can't, or having a relative have an illness. You realize that if you end up getting cancer, let's just say, that's very expensive to treat. Some of these cancers have literally led to people who are even millionaires, not billionaires, millionaires losing a big chunk of their fortune to pay for all the medicine depending on the disease you have. So when you're a billionaire, you don't have those concerns. You don't have those worries. Your back is not against the wall. If AEW goes down to drawing zero, which is not going to happen, but let's say hypothetically they run empty arena shows, literally empty arena shows, it's not going to affect the Khan family or his lifestyle. Therefore, his incentive to get the boat going in the right direction to pull the plane up is not going to be as drastic or as worrisome as the rest of us. And that's what happens when you're born into money. It's not just him, it's also some of the kings of different parts of the world, the UK, Saudi Arabia, people in monarchies, emperors. A lot of people who are born into money just can't relate with the working class. They may say that they have, again, empathy or somewhat of an understanding, but they've never actually been there. Hopefully this makes sense to you. It's hard to really, because most of us, I say you and me, most of us have struggled with things in life. And again, I'm not saying that TK doesn't have his own struggles, but his struggles are not going to be the same as ours. Worrying about your football team getting a bunch of losses is a lot less stressful than worrying about how you're going to feed your 3 kids this month. You understand what I'm saying? Way, way less stressful. So think about that and understand that that's why I sometimes get on Tony's case. And that's why fixing AEW, he's going to be very stubborn about it. He's not going to listen to Dutch Mantel or Eric Bischoff. And honestly, some of these guys, not Dutch, but Bischoff definitely has been super vocal about him being anti-AEW. And some people think that he's just grifting. I'm not sure about that, but the point is that he doesn't have to listen to anyone because it's not his livelihood. It doesn't matter. Even if Warner Brothers Discovery chose not to renew them, even if he wound up in a 3:30 a.m. time slot on some network, it doesn't matter because they've got so much money that it's just never, it's an endless fountain of money. Think about that. Think about how crazy your life would be, dude. Like, think real hard about that. Where you can buy anything and do anything you want. That's sweet. That is sweet. But that's why he's never going to truly relate to the rest of us and truly take AEW as serious as somebody would who treats it like his business is do or die. You understand what I'm saying? So I hope that makes sense. Let me know what you think in the comments. Take care.